Well, Mississippi State quarterback Blake Shapen breaks his silence on the injury that's had fans talking, and we got his full update right here.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got more SEC Media Days content to talk about today. Isaac Smith talked about the defense and how much improved that he thinks that unit will be. Also, of course, we'll preview what we're looking forward to most in Starkville, like we do on every Friday show. But first, we got to talk about Blake Shapen. Obviously, he hurt his shoulder last year, and that shortened his season. He gave several quotes about it. One of them is, he was talking about just how excited he is to get back on the field. He says he's never missed 8 games before, so last year was tough sitting out and be removed a little bit. So being back healthy is a blessing, and I can't wait to get on the field. So what are kind of your thoughts about, some of the stuff he said? And he even said more than that.
Yeah, he said a lot more. I mean, the biggest takeaway, and it's one of those things that when you hear it initially, you're like, no, you're not. You're just making this up. When he said he thinks he can throw the ball farther now and that his shoulder is stronger. And when you just hear that at face value, you're like, no. But when you kind of think about it, and he talks about it, it forced him to be in the rehab room every day. It forced him to do certain shoulder workouts to strengthen his shoulder. So, yeah, it kind of does make sense.
Has it been bothering him before he got the major injury?
Yeah, it could be. And I know it's a very different injury. A broken scapula is very different from a torn ligament, but you see it in MLB all the time where guys are throwing, 94, have Tommy John surgery, come back and are throwing 97.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very different. It's not that unheard of, though, because it forces people to focus on strengthening the part that was hurt. And when you strengthen that and combine it with everything else exactly how it was,
right?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense that it would get a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and he was talking about also what he's looking forward to this season, and it has a lot to do with that injury. Being able to stay healthy is going to be big for them. But he said, for us, they want to be very explosive. At the same time, they want to be able to run the football. That's where it starts, is running the football, so it can open up avenues for us in the pass game. I feel like at times last year we struggled with that, so I feel like running the football is where it starts, to be able to open up the touch game and screens and explosive plays down the field with the play action game. So running the football is going to be huge and making plays down the field. And that goes back to the injury, because you can't put all of this on his shoulders now, especially coming off an injury like this. And you did mention it's a broken bone instead of a torn ligament. And those are usually easier to come back full go than a torn ligament. A lot of times torn ligament, it's never the same. You can at least get it close, but it's usually never the strength that it once was, because it's, has to be reattached and all this stuff. But a broken bone is usually easier to come back from. So, but it does go back to what we've talked about with the running backs, Devon Booth, Fluff Bothwell. This rushing attack could be very exciting this year.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the offensive line. Just if they can block, they open up holes, that'll open up the passing game, give Shapen time, all of that. But it's exciting. And yes, you obviously would have preferred to have him on the field for all games last year. But there is something that can be said for him watching the team. Because, just one, he's a quarterback. So 99% of them are going to be locked in no matter what. But also just the quotes from him, he was locked in. And he probably, did a ton of film study, saw the games, kind of what worked, what didn't work for other quarterbacks, plus just learning the playbook, being around it for another year. I mean, all of that combined with maybe finally being healthy for the first time, because, we've talked about all of his different injuries. How many of those were nagging him? Was it a knee or an ankle from a couple years ago? Maybe he needed a little more time on that. So just having extra time off, maybe let the rest of his body fully heal. And this could be the first time he's going into a season fully healthy since he was a freshman at Baylor.
Yeah. And I will say the one kind of red flag from Blake Shapen's
It's the
media
list of
session
injury history.
outside of the injury history is, and because we talked about this when previewing it, you can kind of pick up on the guys that have had really strong camps by not having to ask them about so-and-so, and they bring up so-and-so. That didn't really happen. Every person, I'm like going through his quotes, Anthony Evans, who he brought up, it was because he was asked about Anthony Evans.
Right.
Brennan Thompson, who he's brought up, again, asked about Brennan Thompson. So there, he was asked about Mario Craver, the freshman. Again, not ever bringing anyone up. The only one he brought up was Kevin Coleman Jr., who is now at Missouri. He's not even at Mississippi State anymore. But he was bringing it up to talk about Anthony Evans having to step into that role and become that player for them. So that's a little concerning that he's not bringing up any wide receivers, any offensive linemen. Now, talk about the run game as a whole. That wasn't something he was directly asked, and so that should excite you. He brought that up. But the other stuff, he didn't really talk about any of that.
Yeah, then the offensive line is what's most concerning to me, because with how bad it was last year. And yeah, he was out there for 4 games, so he experienced it, but he didn't experience the brunt of how bad the offensive line was. So you would think, just from like an awareness standpoint, going out there and being like, hey, offensive line is gelling. They're coming together, a lot of new pieces. Something like that would have been a great statement, even if it's only like 40% true. Just throwing it out there to give those guys confidence, because some of those guys might be going through practice being like, man, we are getting beat left and right. This is going bad. We're going to get him killed. And he goes out there and gives y'all a vote of confidence. Maybe it helps a little bit, but that was the receivers. I could kind of see not bringing anyone up. Like, I agree. You want him to be like, hey, this guy's killing it and this guy's killing it. But when you do have a whole new room and it is kind of going to be a little bit of a by committee type situation, I can see not wanting to be like, oh, this guy's having a great camp, and possibly, hey, we all know receivers can be a little divas sometimes. So sometimes you might not want to create an issue in a room by mentioning someone who's having a good camp.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. I would have liked them to at least talk about the offensive line. I feel like that's the part that I'm like kind of surprised that they didn't even
about.
Yeah, didn't even talk about it. And I will say, when you get the full list of everything he said, that's in the press conference setting. That's not like when he breaks away and talks to just individual reporters and stuff like that. And so I'm sure he talked about the offensive line to someone, but he did not talk about it in the press conference. At least I didn't see anything about him talking about it. And so that's something that obviously has to be a lot better this year because of how bad it was last year. And so it still remains to be seen if this offensive line is going to be improved. But yeah, he didn't mention anything. He didn't mention any players specifically. Didn't mention like the unit as a whole. So yeah, I mean that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, the fact he didn't say anything is definitely concerning, especially when you have Brennan Thompson over there talking, and we mentioned how good he is in press conferences both yesterday and leading into this, but he had all kinds of great quotes, and he had one about Shapen's arm strength. He's like, he doesn't even look like he got hurt last year to me. I came in January and he's ready to go. I'm like, man, let's get it going. He's slinging it. I mean, come on, that's a great quote. You don't have one of those about a receiver breaking open. So that or an offensive line pancaking somebody. Again, you hope it's just he wasn't in that mindset. He wasn't trying to hype up one person over someone else, but it is concerning when nothing comes up organically without being directly asked.
Well, and it's kind of weird that none of the reporters asked about it, because it's literally one of the biggest talking points in the whole offseason, especially for Mississippi State, because it was such a major issue last year for them, and they've overhauled everything because of it. And so for it not to be brought up is just, I don't know, it's just kind of weird.
It's just kind of really talk about it much, if I remember. I mean, I'm sure he got asked a million questions, so I may have missed a little statement here or there, but he wasn't asked directly about it much either. So kind of wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, it was so much of an issue. They overhauled the whole staff. I mean, they overhauled the staff for it, and transfer portal. They added so many additions. So
brought people in and kicked them back out in the portal in the same window.
Yeah, and that might have been the reason why it wasn't brought up, because a lot of these guys are newer, and so they're still getting acclimated. Not a lot can know about them, and so maybe not. But I'm just surprised the question wasn't brought up. But, all right, speaking of another group that didn't play good last year, Isaac Smith talked about the defense and what he expects from them in 2025. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And one surprising thing I noticed when I started tracking my spending with Monarch Money was just how much I'm spending on subscriptions. Now with, TV, every program has a subscription. Every provider has a subscription. Those add up so quickly, and Monarch let me see just how much it was adding up and figure out where I could cut some costs, because, you want everything, but you don't have to have everything. And also, we've all spent too much money on food delivery. It happens, but when you see it laid out, it just changes how you see it. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
All right. Well, thanks for being Locked On Mississippi State, your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. So Isaac Smith, who's been kind of the leader of the whole team, but especially the defense, he was also at Media Day, and he was talking about all the different things about the team, about the defense, all this kind of stuff. And they asked him, what would you like to see from the defense this year that will lead to improvement? And his biggest thing, he said, is execution. He said we had a lot of missed execution last year. Coach Hutzler preaches it day in and day out. We lacked execution the whole season, really missed tackles, missed assignments, and quite frankly, that's why we lost a lot of games. I think we were last in about everything, so having 10 sacks, you can't win that way. So we got some guys out of the portal that's come in and is ready to work and compete, and I think we're going to surprise a lot of people this year defensively. That is what you want to hear from a quote, because you want to talk about how we said that they didn't mention the offensive line. He immediately jumps to the defensive line, says how it wasn't acceptable, and didn't name a specific player. He just said we got in new additions that are playing well so far.
Yeah, he was all over it, naming every group, like the D-line and how we execute as a whole. The D-line looks really good right now. We got more safeties. Really, every position is improved. I mean, he was on it. And also, it's good when you have a leader like him. He's aware of where they've come from. And now he's like, look, I know what we did, but that's not who we are anymore. We're better. And having a guy like that, when he's like, everybody on the team, we look really good defensively. We're ready for everybody to see. And I can promise you we're putting in the work, and we're going to go out there and show everybody. That's the quote you want in Media Day.
Yeah, and another great quote he said, last year I feel like a lot of the criticism got put on our coaches, but I always tell, like the guys, the coaches can't go out there and play for us. It's up to us to go execute and make the plays. That's what we didn't do last year. He said defensively, we can go out there, get stops this year. I have all the faith in the world that Blake is going to get the ball to guys like Brennan, Anthony Evans, and Leb. And Leb's going to call the plays to get the ball in the end zone. Maybe this year we'll be on the other side of things instead of going home sad and mad that we lost close games that we should have been winning. Again, I mean, that's what you want to hear from a leader. And, hey, he named Anthony Evans and Brennan Thompson. Like, obviously, I understand the naming Brennan because he's there with him.
But when he says this.
Yeah, and so now Anthony Evans was named as well. So these are the kind of quotes that you look for at SEC Media Days. And, yeah, I mean, he's spot on with the execution because it was very poor last year, obviously.
Yeah, and bringing up the D-line and just how many new people that have been brought in, hopefully that translates to more sacks, better production, less just getting blown off the ball. But, I mean, yeah, he promised better defense. And honestly, I think it's hard to see a path where it's not better.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing he was asked was also just about what he's seen differently in year 2 under Levy.
Mhm.
He said he's been more locked on. Thanks for the endorsement there. No, I'm just kidding. He said he's been more locked
I don't
on
think he's
us.
the safety that subscribed to us either.
Yeah, right. He said he's been more locked on us being better than what we were last year. But overall, he said he's still the same energy, same vibes, always fun to be around, just comes with a lot of energy. So again, that's the kind of stuff that you like to hear, and it's no surprise that he's the leader of your team and your defense when you read through these quotes. But now, I mean, and we said this
Mhm.
in the preview episode on Wednesday. It's great to have all these quotes because they are great quotes and they make you excited as a fan. But you got to go out on the field and do it.
Yeah, you have to. And Levy mentioned the defense a little bit, mostly the staff. He's like, they're all speaking the same language, great amount of experience, more than there was a year ago. And Coleman's done an unbelievable job creating buy-in. So also good, because after a bad defensive year, when you keep the same staff, sometimes you see guys kind of start, coaching their own way almost. Like, hey, my safeties aren't going to be the reason that we lose, so I'm going to make sure my safeties look good or my line looks good, something like that. Kind of everyone goes out for themselves. So everyone's still on the same page. You have a defensive leader who is 100% bought in that this team has turned itself around to be at least competent defensive team. So, I mean, we're questioning what was going on in the offensive line or offensive rooms, but I mean, the vibes are high in the defensive side of the ball.
Which is funny because Levy's background is obviously offense. And we said offense is the unit that needs to take the bigger jump. And we felt like it could because of all the additions. But if you didn't know anything about the program and you read through the quotes from the players, the coaches, and things like that, you're probably more excited about the defense taking the jump than the offense taking the jump. And it all starts with Isaac Smith and the leader he is.
Yeah, I mean, I am now. I've been, we've been talking about it. We've both been kind of like, yeah, offense should be better because of this. Question marks about the defense because of, a lot of transfers, a lot of guys coming up from lower levels, things like that. But now it's like, has something clicked with this defensive staff and the players on the field? Is it all falling into place? Did they just need another year? Did they need more bodies? And I mean, we've been talking about, we want to get about like that 80-90 range in total defense ranking. I mean, with the way they're talking, top 50s on the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't go that far, not with the talent.
Hey, I said the way they're talking, not that it's realistic.
It's true. And you could take, and again, not predicting it, you could take that jump by just simply executing better. That's how easy it is to take a jump like that. Now, I say it's easy. It's not. It's easier said than done. You got to be able to.
Easy in theory, hard in
practice. Yeah. It's easy to say we just have to execute better, but because that's with a lot of things. But if things are being like, if players keep busting coverages or keep busting run fits or all this stuff, that means the coaches aren't making it simple enough. And in your first year as a coaching staff, maybe things were a little too difficult for these players to pick up on. But on the flip side, you have some people, and I'm kind of this opinion too. I wouldn't change who you are as a coach if you've had success in the past because your players are kind of struggling that first year picking up on it, because that could hurt your second year. Because now, while they've had it picked up, and we see this, a great example is Levy's former boss, Brent Venables. His defense is known as one of the most difficult. Well, in 2022, he didn't have the personnel that fit his defense, and his defense is very hard to pick up on, and they struggled with mental bust over and over. And a lot of Oklahoma fans were like, hey, we just went 6-7. You should have changed something to make it easier throughout the year. He said, no, we're sticking to our thing. Well, they were a top 10 defense last year and efficiency. And now they're expected to be an even better defense this year because of all that cohesion that they had. And I think that's kind of what you should expect this year, as long as you just keep staying with the path and keep teaching these guys, because then the guys that have been in the system now, they can also help teach, and then so on and so forth. It just goes down the line, and everything just starts becoming a little more simple.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a hallmark of a lot of good defensive, like coaches. Not saying that, the defensive staff is going to be on that level, but you mentioned Venables. We've seen that with other guys over and over. It just takes a couple years for it all to click because of complexity pieces moving. You're bringing in a whole new system, and every now and then you'll get transfers over that know some of your system. But the defense has to be so cohesive and move 11 people as one person, essentially. Sometimes it takes a while, and you have to get the right pieces. So hopefully this does mean we're taking this defense are taking that step forward. Right. Hopefully it shows up on the field.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next, we'll let you know what we're looking forward to the most this weekend in Starkville, so don't go anywhere. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, what are you looking forward to most?
Well, I'm going to let you answer first on this one. I always take this first. I'm going to let you take it first. So, you know. So I have to be the one to come up with the interesting answer.
Well, I just decided to cheat on this one. And the reason is because my focus is not going to be on sports this weekend. I'm getting married Saturday. So I'm going to be a little focused on that. And so what I'm looking forward to most is obviously getting married. And then we're off to our honeymoon. But I wanted to bring that up, not to say like, hey, I'm getting married. It is to tell you next week, we have recorded all of our episodes because I will not be here next week. I'll be out of the country, and I am not going to have my phone on me, and I'm not going to be checking stuff or I will get yelled at. But we've recorded all of our episodes for next week, so we're really excited about that. What we did is every episode breaks down a new position group, or multiple position groups is what we did. And then it ends with kind of on Friday, we'll wrap it up with kind of after breaking all this down, what's the outlook on the season, how much pressure's on Jeff Levy and all that. That's all been recorded already. We did that. So that's going to be next week. So to let you know, we're not going to be able to post videos Monday through Friday on all of our other social media channels.
Yes. With
me being gone. But YouTube will have our podcast every day. Also, if you watch and you're like, hey, you're wearing the same outfit every day. Yeah, we recorded all the same day. So we did. So we recorded 5 episodes for you guys to make sure y'all had content despite me being gone. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, see, that's the reason I let you go first, because that was going to be my answer, and I felt it would be weird if I was the one who brought it up. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been like 5 years since we've been in the same state.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, you know, and I'm making a little vacation out of it, so I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, still going to be watching some recruiting news. If something pops, you'll see us on Twitter through this weekend. And yeah, I will do my best to answer all the questions that pop up on YouTube next week, but we normally tag team it. So one person doing all of it might not be as quick of a response, but I will do my best.
Yeah. And then once I'm back, which will be that Monday, so the 28th, I believe. So once we're back, we'll be full on, especially with football season starting, like we'll be good to go at that point. But yeah, I mean, obviously non-personal news, just the football stuff and basketball and baseball, because we even had some basketball stuff break off. But just recruiting news in general is something to look forward to. That's just the time of year. That's what you're going to get, a lot of recruiting news. You might get some like notes here and there about how summer practices went and things like that. But overall, it's going to be a lot of recruiting stuff. So keep your eyes on that. I don't think I'd have to go back and check, but I don't believe there's like any upcoming commitment. I mean, obviously it can be scheduled tomorrow and be like, hey, yeah, this is happening this week, But as of now, I don't think there is anything to look forward to in terms of that.
Yeah, nothing that. And then kind of just be watching the fallout from the MLB draft, see if there's any guys.
August 1st is the last date.
Yeah, see if there's any guys that are now coming in the transfer portal that weren't really targets before because you thought some people would be here. Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that.
Yeah. August 1st, they have to let the teams know if they're going to sign or if they're going back to school. So that's another thing to keep an eye on as well. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. We're on all those. We post daily videos, obviously this week, Monday through Friday, but next week, as I mentioned, will be kind of spotty. And then, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.